welcome back. I have a very special guest with me today. I have Sue, and we are going to be hearing her story, and I'm really, really excited to get to talk with her. And so I will stop talking so you can introduce yourself.
Okay. Well, hi, I'm Sue. My real name's Susanna, but everybody just calls me Sue. I'm 23. I was diagnosed with Turner syndrome at birth because my mom noticed I had like puffy toes, and so they did my karyotype, everything. So it came back as classic Turner's. But so like I remember going to endocrinologist, of course, as I was little, taking the growth hormone shots. I'm 5'4", so I don't know, I guess it's kind of average. Hormone replacement therapy. I take estrogen and progesterone right now. So I did have to have, when I was like 11, I had like a nodule on my thyroid. And so they did surgery to take that out. And then just recently they found like a small one on like the other thyroid that I have, but I don't know. My doctor said she wasn't really like worried about it, cause like 99% of the time it's nothing to worry about. So, but yeah, honestly, I feel really normal. I'm blessed to not really, have had any of the, complications that can come along with Turner syndrome. I guess just mainly like thyroid stuff is what I've had to deal with. But yeah, I feel like there's a lot to be thankful for in life. So
That's always a great way of looking at things.
Yeah.
And particularly with all of the different things that can come up with Turner's, it can get kind of difficult and overwhelming as it is. And so finding those things that you can, be grateful for and find the positive in it. I am not one that's like you're being cliche or, falsely positive if you only try to see the good. I think if you're handling what you need to, but you're trying to stay positive, that's to me a very healthy approach. So
Yeah.
So I always love hearing what triggers the diagnosis. So you said your mom noticed things, that is why you got the testing done.
Yeah. She watched, or when I was born, she saw I had puffy toes is what she said. And then, so she's like, what's up with her toes? And then the doctor was like, oh, I think I've seen this before, so we're going to figure it out. And then, so I guess, they did the karyotype, did some blood work, and it came back as Turner's. So
puffy feet and hands is very common.
Mm-hmm.
That wasn't what got me to get a diagnosis, but I had that as well.
Yeah.
So in your experience, what's been the biggest thing that has impacted you from Turner's?
Yeah, definitely probably the like infertility aspect is definitely something that's for me really particularly hard, because I come from a family with like 1,000,000,001 kids, so and that's actually why I'm on the estrogen and progesterone, is to be able to build that lining back up to be able to do IVF. But yeah, so it's just hard, but just everything is a day at a time. So
you are currently actively working towards doing IVF?
Yeah, I think so. Probably at least by 2023.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's so expensive though. It was pretty overwhelming to see the prices for just even to buy like donor eggs, and it was insane.
Yeah. Are you in the process of doing the screenings already, or have you already done that?
I guess technically I've already done that, I guess, because I had like the internal ultrasound done so they could look at my ovaries. They were like there, but like barely there. So she said I would most likely need an egg donor. So yeah, and that's that was last month. That found that out. So yeah.
So what was the determining factor for you to make you want to pursue IVF over other options? Because I feel like everybody has their different journey to making that decision.
Yeah. I guess pretty much, I just wanted that experience still of, being able to like carry the child. Something for me that's like that I've been having to kind of cope with is just the fact of like it won't be a child from me, but it will in the sense of, I've been able to carry the kid and everything. So
Yeah, I think it is something that all of the scientific advancements can really emotionally help some of that too, because it can, even just that feeling of normalcy
yeah,
can be really
definitely.
huge.
Yeah.
So, would you say there's been one specific moment that Turner's has really changed something in your life? I mean, I know infertility and doing IVF, but has there been anything um, that really changed your thinking on things?
Um, I guess not a whole lot. It's, like I said, I've, blessed to, you know, because it can kind of, Turner's represents itself in like different ways, some are, it just kind of depends on how it manifests itself. But I guess pretty much the I guess the thyroid thing is pretty much the only thing that's kind of like got me concerned. Um, but again, even like thyroid nodules are super common anyways in just regular people. So
Yeah. Yeah. And thyroid issues in general can be common for people even without Turner's.
yeah.
Was there anything in your thyroid issues that specifically red flagged as far as there might be something like, did you have symptoms or was it just they found it on a test?
Yeah, they just kind of found it because I was going to see a new endocrinologist, and then so she just wanted to get that checked up and everything, and so they did an ultrasound of the thyroid, and then that's where they saw the nodule. I mean, but she said it was like super tiny, so
That's good.
yeah, for
So
sure.
is there with your HRT, this might be jumping around a bit. You said you were on estrogen and progesterone. Is that
Mhm.
it's two individual pills?
Yeah, so the estrogen is like day 1 to 25, and then the progesterone is you take it day 16 to 25 um to be able to have that cycle.
And have you mostly had that same regimen, or has there been like, have you had a bunch of different ones or a few different ones you've tried to kind of find one that worked well for you?
I was on it whenever I was like little, and then I think like 5-6 years ago I started just taking birth control, um and so that was kind of the hormone replacement there for a while, but then now starting the IVF process, I was put back on that estrogen and progesterone regimen.
So as far as starting the IVF process, what Well, I'm really curious what that looked like, because I mean, I know certain aspects of it just from me discussing with doctors when we were doing fertility testing and everything. But if you're comfortable sharing, I would just love to hear a little bit more about what that journey has looked like so far.
Yeah. I guess it's pretty still kind of early in the process, if I think about it. I had the ultrasound done and everything, and she just kind of said, you're going to need an egg donor. So they sent the information to be able to get that, started and everything. But yeah, so I guess it's pretty early on, and then just starting the hormones. So it's where it's at right now. So
Have you had any specific approach you're trying as far as the finances side? Because I know that was, I mean, there was a whole lot of information I got in the appointment with my doctor, but that was probably the one that I left the most in shock with.
yes, absolutely. Yeah, that's kind of the thing right now is I no idea how to pay for it at all. And it's crazy because a lot of people, this isn't even something that they would really have to think about.
Yeah.
So it's, yeah, definitely a shocker to kind of see those prices. And that's when
Yeah.
it becomes real.
Yeah. And even looking, I don't know if you kind of were given the same message, but when I asked about, well, because I mean, I was diagnosed before I was even born, so I've always known this was a chance. But my parents told me when I was almost 10, just under 10, and it was something I was constantly thinking about and talking about just because I knew I wanted to have kids. And so growing up, all of my friends were like, I love you, and I would give you my eggs. And I never wanted, I wanted to be able to do it to myself, so like do it for myself. So I was still holding out. But when I asked my doctor, they said that that doesn't actually make it a significant amount cheaper. Like
Oh, right.
it could help, but not as much as I was anticipating, because so much is more just paying for the medical side of it versus paying for like they could waive the donor fees, things like that. But I don't know. Is that something you've heard anything specific about?
I haven't heard anything specific about that. My aunt was kind of like, because I was talking to her about this, and she was like, well, Roxanne, which is her daughter, which is my cousin. I'm really sorry. The dog just came in. He was like, she'd be able to, she'd be happy to, give you her eggs. But, me and my husband talked about it, and it's kind of like, same thing you were saying. It wouldn't make it significantly cheaper. And so I don't know, for us, it's just kind of, I would rather just have a donor, to not have that, like, I guess, I don't know. I think it was kind of like a weird connection. If I was to use my cousin's eggs, I would just rather it be from somebody else. But
Yes. Yeah, there was that aspect of it, and then there was the aspect of it also. He told me I don't ever recommend having them donated from somebody you're very personally close to, because it can be a hard thing to navigate within a personal relationship.
yeah, for sure. So yeah, that's definitely something I was kind of like, nah, probably not gonna do that.
To look at experiences and everything, did you do any research into embryo adoption?
Oh, I did not actually. Um,
I had never heard of it before, and then I was doing a ton of research and had heard of it. And Um, I don't think it's something that's very much talked about, but it's very connected to IVF in the way that medically your side of things still looks the same. You still prepare for the transfer, and all of that. Um, it was just very interesting. I love how many options there are now.
Yeah, for sure. Um, and that's one thing that's great about it. It's definitely a positive out of all of it is, there is plenty of options. Um, it doesn't make it any harder to kind of like cope with and everything, but yeah, at least there is those options.
Yeah. Yeah. Did you always, like from a really young age, understand that that was something you might have to go through?
Yeah, my mom was, pretty open and honest with me about it, um, from a very early age. So, it just makes me all the more thankful to her for, doing that. Just kind of, so it's not like a shell shock or anything later in life.
Yeah. I think for me, it would have been so much harder if I hadn't had that time beforehand to process it.
Right.
Did you have a specific initial approach, like you knew you wanted to try to do IVF?
Yeah, pretty much because I always knew that I just wanted that experience of being able to like carry a child. And so, that's one of the only options available for that.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So besides the hormones and everything, is there anything outside of that that you're doing to prepare, like just overall health wise?
Yeah, I'm, taking calcium pills just because I did have osteopenia. And so, but I was, just they told me to take calcium and everything. And so it's improved, which is good. Um, but yeah, just kind of for me, I guess right now it's more like on the mental and emotional side of it, and then also like the financial, because and even me and my husband talked about like what it would look like to maybe not even have kids one day. So I don't know, I feel like there's still a lot to kind of think about and pray about as well. So because it's a lot to process for sure.
It is. It's a lot of, and during that time where you're trying to figure it out, there's so much information that's thrown at you.
Mhm. Yeah. So oh, it is
It's,
a
yeah, it's a lot. And I feel like me and my husband have gone in waves of different ways we felt about it at different times.
yeah, for sure. I don't know. I guess, for me, like, especially after the doctor, like there was like for a week straight, there wasn't a day that I didn't cry. Um, but, going forward, I think, I'm able to like cope with it a little bit better now. And, so I do think, to each their own. And, life is what you make it for sure.
Yeah.
You know, um, there's still a lot to be thankful for.
Yeah, absolutely. So I love talking about the theme for Turner Syndrome Awareness Month.
Oh
Love
yeah.
it. And this year's was Turner Strong, which is probably what my favorite has been this whole time. Like since I've been aware of the themes. What would you say that makes you think of when you think of Turner Strong?
Oh yeah. I guess definitely like I know the symbol for Turner's is the a butterfly, right? And so that kind of what comes to mind is just um, a butterfly and being strong and after hatching from the cocoon or whatever and it's able to fly, that's what makes me think of it. And just being able to persevere through everything. So
Yeah. I think I loved it so much because it's not just actionable, like we live that by going through everything we go through, but it's also encouragement. that we can.
Yeah, absolutely. Um,
I love that.
and I feel like we have to be kind of our own advocates in a way, so
Yeah.
I
Have you
think,
found any unique moments of having to be your own advocate with um, the doctors that you've worked with in your life?
yeah, kind of. It was because me and my husband, I'm originally from Tennessee, and then so he had a job in Indiana this past year, so we moved up there. We're back in Tennessee now, but so while we were in Indiana, I kind of was trying to get the process of started of like, well, what does my like ovaries look like? What's kind of going on, because I never really knew. And then so I saw an OBGYN up there, and I told her that I was on birth control, and then she was like, well, just stop the birth control. She literally told me to stop taking it. And I did not do that, because I didn't want to like throw my body into some like weird wacky thing. She's like, well, you don't, you know, portray, classic Turners or whatever, and that kind of thing. And but I'm not gonna do that to just stop my hormones, because I don't think that would be safe. So
Yeah. Oh my goodness. Oh gosh. That
yeah.
oh, that is I've not had too many moments, but that would be one where I don't know if I'd be able to keep the look off my face in reaction to it.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Like, I'm sorry, what? Okay.
Yeah.
That is
So
very
that was
interesting.
yeah, it was crazy. But the OBGYN that I see down here, she was really nice. And so she just kind of referred me to the fertility clinic now. So I really like her. She's really, really nice, and I feel like my voice is heard.
That's good.
So
That I feel like is the most important part, just feeling like they're at least listening to you.
yes, absolutely.
Yeah. So I'm also kind of obsessed with what different aspects of Turner's are being researched.
Oh yeah.
Is there anything in particular you feel like you would specifically like to see more research done on?
Yeah, I mean, just kind of how, like, how in, like us as Turners, like whenever we're, being formed, like what, because of like what of the genetics makes, specifically like the reproductive system like not form as it was supposed to. And that it's just crazy, because there's so many different genetic things that can happen. I mean, I think there's more that goes in genetics than we really realize.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, and I think part of the puzzle is figuring out more about tracking the different mutations when it happens.
right.
Because I think that would tell us a lot as far
Yeah.
as, when it comes to the reproductive system. Is it just the hormone levels aren't there from the get-go, and so that contributes to it not fully developing and then not being sustainable? Or is it just those cells that mutated are going straight there? And that's, it's so interesting. And it being all genetic is part of, I think, what makes it so mysterious, because it's so hard to like pin down.
Yes. Yeah, for sure.
So
It's just there's so much unknown.
yeah.
And I think it would personally, I think it would be great to be able to get even more awareness about Turner syndrome, because I don't think a whole lot of people have ever heard of it or even know what it is.
Yeah.
And I, even in the Turner syndrome group, on Facebook, there's a lot of moms that are on there, and, they have their babies that are, diagnosed with Turner's, and, so it's just kind of, they're thrown into this whole thing. They have to kind of figure out where to go from there. So I think, the more awareness about it would be, the better.
Yeah, it's always surprising to me how much more awareness is really needed, even within the communities that should have the most awareness of it.
Mm-hmm.
That, sometimes I feel like it being put as a more of an urgent thing could help. Like,
Yeah.
it being a more urgent, like, no, this needs attention. We need to understand this better. And, doctors need more help knowing how to help these patients. Because, your story from talking with the OB, it just kind of exemplifies for me how possible it still is that doctors don't fully have an understanding of it. And certainly the ones not within everything could not. And, they're running into patients that could have it. And that just makes me want anyone and everyone to know about it.
Yeah, for sure. I was like, I just thought to myself, I was like, if you know anything about Turner's, it's like, that is not something that would be good for me to do.
And an OB that works with people with, they're going to work on the fertility side of things should be somewhat versed in the fertility side of Turner's, at least.
Right. Absolutely.
I've had endocrinologists, well, one specifically that I've worked with before, that I'm not sure she completely understood. And they're the specialist you go to.
Right. And that's so scary to think about too, because, it's like, you're there because you seek help from, the healthcare professionals. And then it's kind of like, they don't even know what they're doing. And you're like, these are the people that you go to because you want them to know and have confidence that they know what they're doing.
Yeah. So. That was part of the reason. I'm not sure if you've seen it or not, but I did a video. Oh gosh, it was a while ago now, maybe 2 or 3 years. Maybe I should do another one. Basically called Dear Medical Professionals. That was like an open letter to, these are our stories, these are our experiences, you need to hear these stories.
Yeah.
And
yeah, for sure. I'll have to check that out. Definitely, Brooke. I love your podcast. I've been listening to it at work like the past week, and I love it. It's great because, and being able to connect with different Turner's girls and finally having people to relate to, about this.
Yeah, and particularly with how unique everybody's experiences within Turner's already is, having somebody that actually has it and not just kind of understands, but really understands, because some of the things are so, the way you, like, maybe the fertility struggle isn't one that's unique. Other people struggle with fertility too, but the way you struggle with fertility with Turner's is very unique.
Yes, definitely.
So, I had a best friend that she also struggled with fertility. It was PCOS, and we would be talking about stuff, and she had other options, much different options than I could have. And so having somebody that can have that conversation, go, no, I totally understand, and there's options, but we're limited. And hearing other people's stories has been so amazing for me. And oh gosh, I can't even put a value on it. It's been incredible.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I love how you said that, just the way that Turner's girls, struggle with that. Because, with PCOS, I believe there's like some medicine that you can take and it kind of sort of can bypass that problem. But, for us, there is no bypass for that. So.
Yeah. Things like some fertility drugs aren't going to be something that can actually assist us.
Mm-hmm.
Things like just normal IVF. Some Turner's women can try a round of just normal IVF. It's not the common situation though.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's just amazing to hear other people go, yeah, me too. I get it.
Yeah, definitely.
It's so just for your mental presence and trying to go through it, it's really good.
Yeah, because you get, for me at least, my mind can go like a million miles a minute, and I get all these thoughts in my head, and then I'm like, it's just nice to have people, like you said, to relate to, and hear their stories, and it's like, okay, I'm not crazy.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. I know. I love that. That's one of my favorite moments. I was just talking about this with somebody else. One of my favorite moments in talking with somebody else about all of this that also has it is where you can say something and they'll go, oh, you too? Yeah, me
Right.
too. And it's like, oh gosh, thank you.
Right.
I love it.
Definitely.
So you mentioned prayer as a part of how you were preparing for going through IVF and everything. Mm-hmm. I am a very probably outspoken Christian.
Yeah.
And so I feel like that aspect to Turner's can be really important too. It's not something that is everybody's belief, but I know it's had a huge impact on my personal journey with Turner's. If you would be comfortable, I would love to hear if you think that's impacted your journey and processing through everything.
Yes, absolutely, Brooke. It definitely has. I'm pretty outspoken myself. It because I feel like with Turner's, there's a lot that can seem like out of your control, right? Yeah. So, for me, it's just being nice to be able to like sit there and pray with my husband. Like, we need guidance on what to do, where to go, and just help us to be at like peace with how things are right now, and to know like, hey, everything's going to work out how it is supposed to, because you may not get what you want, but it might be what you need.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, that's definitely helped, kind of bring myself out of some ruts, and just, hey, it is in God's hands, and how, his plan is for a greater purpose. So being able to do that.
Yeah. So do you feel like that's impacted the way you've kind of reached into the community, like finding ways to reach out, finding ways to have others to connect with?
Yeah, kind of. I feel like I ask a lot of questions in the Turner Syndrome group. And so, yeah, I mean, I would love to be able to, connect in that way with different Turner's girls. I guess I don't really feel like I've been able to as of yet. I just joined the group like this last year. So, but yeah.
Before joining the group, had you talked to many others that had Turner syndrome?
No, I literally knew nobody that had Turner's before. And so I was like, I didn't even know this was here. Like, this is great,
Yeah, I can't remember when I joined the groups now. Well, group as far as the one I'm most active in, but I think at first I expected the online version to not be, I don't know. I'm a very one-on-one, person-to-person, like face-to-face type of person.
Yeah.
Which is funny because now I talk to everybody over the internet, but
thanks, COVID.
Yeah. So I have so much found it has, I think, helped me more than what I have available in person could at the moment.
Yeah.
You know,
And again, it's about the, at least the internet is available to still be able to connect with everybody. I'm thankful for it. And I'm just so happy to have this opportunity to talk with you. I was so excited.
oh yeah, this was really great. I was really excited to hear your story. And I love how unique everybody's journey is.
Mhm.
And I got asked the other day what I would like, what I think would help communications with everybody within the community, along with patient to doctor. And I'm like, just everybody hearing everybody's stories.
Yeah,
Because
definitely.
I never leave not learning something.
Right. Absolutely. And for me, like another thing that's just been kind of weird is like, even the doctor, when I was born, thought that I might have like mosaic Turners.
Mm-hmm.
But it turned out to be classic Turners. So, I don't know. So that's also something that's, I guess unique in my story is, I think it just goes to prove of how wide the spectrum can be with Turners.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, so they, from the amniocentesis, while my mom was pregnant with me, they guessed I would be classic, but they said, she'll have blood tests to confirm everything when she's born. But before we ever did that, because I had no health complications, nothing, I never fell off the normal height and weight charts. I mean, I was on like the very bottom, but I was never off of them.
Right.
And we thought I might be mosaic because of how little I was showing of anything. The most you could really tell was my neck a little bit, not to an extreme extent, but if you were looking, you could kind of see. And I haven't actually heard too many others that have had this, but one of my shins is actually smaller than the other because of the fluid.
Oh, okay. I never heard of that either.
I haven't met anybody else that said they have that, but it's a thing for me. And those were the only two things that you could really say was showing I had Turners. So before we had the thing, we thought, yeah, they said classic, but with how little she's showing, maybe it is mosaic. No, I am classic, but it's incredible because I can meet so many other women that are classic or are mosaic that have a longer list of health complications than I do.
Right.
They're shorter than me and they took growth hormones. They have other health complications that I don't. And it's like textbook wise, that shouldn't be a thing. But it's not so black and white.
Right. And I think that just goes to prove, like how much more research needs to be done about it and how much more I think would be so great. And it's important to look into it more because of how different everybody is. And, I don't know. I get kind of like passionate about it. I'm like, I want people to know.
Yeah.
And, get this out there.
Yeah. And I'm just very thankful for the doctors that are super passionate about their research. Like, I watched this video from one of the conference sessions of this doctor that was, I think they were like actively researching or they were talking about the genetics side of things, like the karyotyping and all of that. And they basically were doing this presentation on classic versus mosaic. But by the end of it, she was saying, we never promise anything because we really can only know so much of this with what we have right now. And it totally blew my perspective on things out of the water because I had never heard that before. So even to know that even those lines are a little blurred, there's the biggest piece I would love to see answered is the pattern of the mutation and
Mhm.
how that impacts things. Does that
Right.
make a difference? It just, and we may never know because it's such a complicated thing, but I think that would answer so much.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Because I mean, just like that one thing affects everything else down the line,
Yeah.
DNA wise. So yeah, there's still so much to learn. And um, even in the group, it, I hope that there can be more awareness brought out about it, because I was surprised at how many moms were in the Turner syndrome group, and how many baby girls were being, that have this as well. So,
Yeah.
yeah, it's a lot.
Yeah, that's the other aspect of things that until I myself started researching, I felt like it was really rare, like super rare. Well, in some aspects, yes, it is. It's not like, it's not the commonality of some other things, but it sometimes is easy to feel like it's rarer than it is, because
Mhm.
you can feel so alone when you're not, when you don't know somebody in your own personal life that also has it. But if you think about the numbers, 1 in 2,000, 1 in 1,500, that means when you go to a concert that is a huge stadium, likelihood is there are other girls there that also have it. But you never
Yeah,
think about that. It
right.
doesn't feel possible.
Hmm. Definitely. It's because even my cousin, she's like, like, oh, I forget like all the time that you have Turners, and it's like it you know it's just crazy to think like there's so much more to it than there is, and then there's some, like, a lot more people that might know about this than we really think. So
Yeah. Yeah. Because there's so many unique ways people find out. And there's such a wide range of scenarios for people finding out. Some women don't find out until they try to have a baby and can't get pregnant.
mhm,
And when I first heard of that scenario, I was shocked. Like, what?
yeah,
So it's just, yeah. And I've noticed a big pattern in moms coming in when they're pregnant and get that diagnosis into the groups. And I feel like there's this air of like everybody's watching to see what happens, because you're just hoping and praying so much that it goes well.
yeah, definitely. There's a lot that can manifest itself with Turner syndrome. And even for me, I didn't expect that there would be like another nodule trying to grow on my other thyroid. But again, it's also common in just really anybody. But so yeah, just I also feel like the moms are kind of worried because there's again that unknown, like, and they obviously worry, so they don't know what to expect. And so I guess that hopefully kind of gives them some idea, especially just hearing different stories of, maybe that kind of gives them some peace of mind, just hearing different things that Turner's women have gone through. And so
Yeah. Yeah. I know I have thought it probably, those Facebook groups weren't a thing when my mom was pregnant with me. Um, you're 23, they wouldn't have been for your mom either.
No, yeah, my mom
Wait.
today, she doesn't even use Facebook at all. She calls herself tech stupid. So,
But
but
there was just such little community for it back then. You know, it was very limited and very limited information. And, you know, now we almost have the opposite problem where these parents have a lot of information, but maybe not as much help discerning it. And it can be overwhelming. And even as, I don't
yeah,
know if you found this, but even for me as an adult, I find the information overwhelming.
yeah, absolutely. It's easy to. Sorry, if you hear my husband in the background, he's gaming.
Oh, that's
But
okay.
um, but yeah, you know, especially just even the IVF, you know, I got sent like this long email, and it had like all these PDFs and different documents, and I'm like, I can't even look at it right now because I just feel so overwhelmed with
Yeah.
everything. So
Yeah. So have you had anything specific that you try to keep up on as far as screenings? I mean, I'm sure they're now more closely watching your thyroid. Is there anything else in particular that you screening wise keep up on?
I guess like I had just had a DEXA scan recently, and so it showed that the osteopenia had improved, and so I don't have to really go do that for, you know, like a couple more years or whatever. And I had my heart checked like this last year or two. Everything looked fine. My kidney was fine, perfectly normal. So yeah, I guess just, you know, right now, I don't know, they'll probably like check my thyroid again, ultrasound it, see what's going on, and then if need me, you know, they'll probably like biopsy it. But even when I was 11, I think was when I had to have the first nodule removed, it was benign. So you know, I'm not too worried about it. My doctor wasn't too worried about it. So I mean, like, until she's worried about it, you know, I'm not gonna drive myself crazy over here. So
Yeah. Yeah.
but
So did they say anything in particular about what can cause that? Is it something that just happens?
I guess, I mean, I know like thyroid issues are common, you know, with Turner's and everything. So I don't know, she didn't really say anything about that, but I guess she just kind of maybe attributed to this is happening maybe because of Turner's. But you know, like I said, I'm not really too worried about it as of right now.
Yeah.
But I mean, and they can even go away on their own as well.
Yeah, I haven't heard too much about that to have context. That's interesting. So, is there are you on any other medication for anything besides the HRT?
Oh yeah, well, I levothyroxine for my thyroid.
Okay.
But yeah, pretty much those are the only two medications that I take.
What was your growth hormone experience like?
Yeah, I had to take shots. You know, the growth hormone shots. I remember like doing them like in my leg. But yeah, I don't remember being on them for like a crazy amount of time at all. I do remember starting it pretty young, I guess, but like I said, I'm 5'4", so. But I would be happy. Yeah, I don't know, because I don't, you know, I mean, that's also something I'm kind of curious about is like, because I mean, 5'4" isn't, you know, extremely tall, but you know, I feel like it's kind of just average. So I'm kind of, you know, because I know the thing with Turner's is like, oh, you know, we're, you know, small but mighty kind of thing. I don't know if other Turners have Turner girls have gotten to 5'4", even with growth hormones.
I think I have with growth hormones, yes.
Mm-hmm.
I have not heard of that height not taking growth hormones.
Okay.
I wouldn't be surprised because I'm always hearing of things that I'm like, oh, I didn't know that was a thing. So like, that's cool. So I wouldn't be surprised, but I have not heard without growth hormones that height. The typical height that they say untreated is 4'8" to 4'8", 4'9" is like, I think that was part of the high end of what they would expect without growth hormones.
Mm-hmm.
But that's averages and statistics. And
Mm-hmm.
I don't know about you, but I take all of the statistics with a grain of salt and just, not that it's not good information, but stranger things have happened outside of something not within the statistics happening.
Yeah, definitely. Again, because it's just of that, just how different everybody is. I don't think you can say like, oh, because of, you have Turners, okay, you're going to have this whole long list. It's like, that's not always necessarily true.
Yeah, they're possible.
So,
and,
right.
I think for everybody, there's still a possibility. Probability would be different. That'd be probably too hard to calculate individually.
Yeah.
But yeah, them being possible is different than them actually happening. And our stories where we're classic with very few symptoms and complications from it goes against those statistics,
Mm-hmm.
and that's part of what I try to help get out, that message of like, there's no guaranteed outcome.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. But I mean, it's funny because, even my grandma, she's shorter than I am. And, like, so is my niece. and she's like my age. So I don't know. It's just different. So.
Yeah, it's an interesting experience being without, it's not something I feel like I've talked about very much, but it's an interesting experience being on the side of things where you don't have very many health complications and looking in on all of the stories of really significant health complications.
Mm-hmm.
Especially watching the posts in the group.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it's a lot for me sometimes, for me, it's, helps me keep like a thankful heart as well. And, just advocating for Turners, for the girls, for all of us,
Yeah.
Whether, it's minor health complications or, some, or the ones that have more, I think everybody deserves to have their voice heard and, it be taken serious.
Yeah. And all of us would benefit from a more in-depth understanding.
Mm-hmm.
I think
Yeah, definitely.
The biggest question a lot of people still want answered is what actually causes it to happen.
Mm-hmm.
And who knows if they'll ever fully hone in on that.
Right. And I was actually listening to this is kind of going back like on the like fertility aspects of things, but and advocating for that, people have to go through fertility treatments, for different things. And so I think with insurance companies, there should be a lot more, that is able to be covered, because it's so much more common than people think. And not, just for Turner's girls.
Yes, and amen. It is so disheartening that insurance covers none of it.
Yeah, literally, because I had just started a new job, and so I was talking to the insurance guy about, like what's offered, and I asked about fertility, if there's anything covered with fertility treatments and that kind of thing. And he said, no, nothing. And I was like, I figured, but
Yeah. The only time I've ever had something in that process be covered is my reproductive endo that I did the initial testing with, to kind of, because I mean, I'm not sure if you had this major moment also, but when I first started going to see a doctor to find out what was going on, I had no idea what they were going to say. Like, I knew it was a possibility and a likelihood that I wouldn't be able to, but it was always this question mark, because again, not showing many symptoms, maybe that was an area that I beat those odds again. We don't know, until we did the testing. And he was like, yeah, they cover nothing. So I'm going to throw in the blood work with your other testing that your endo is having done.
Yeah.
So it's covered for you. Like, thank you.
Yeah. I remember your podcast, you were, talking about that. And you had I believe the FSH levels tested, and you said mention that the normal range was anywhere from like 0 to 10. And so you had your levels come back. And so, yeah, I mean, it's just kind of, surreal to sort of, have that confirmed for you. Cause yeah, I mean, I kind of went through the same thing. Just, I thought to myself, yeah, I mean, I don't have any of the characteristics of Turner's really, maybe that's something that wasn't affected. And just to kind of like see the ultrasound where like my ovaries are basically there, but like super teeny tiny,
Yeah.
And so she literally said to me, she was like, well, they're not active or anything. And so I was like, oh, well, that kind of confirms that, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah, it was, oh man, I probably shouldn't have been driving myself home, but
Yeah.
that was the hardest doctor's appointment I think I've ever been to. Not because the doctor was difficult, the doctor was amazing, but oh man, even knowing and anticipating it being the likelihood, having it confirmed that way was a whole other level of real.
Yes, definitely. Cause it does make it real, and it's just to have that confirmation, and
yeah,
just to know that, yeah, I relate to that for sure.
Yeah. And it's so, oh man, I think insurance companies not they're supposed to be covering pre-existing conditions, right? Like, that's not supposed to be a thing they can push off. And we have a diagnosis that could prove, like, no, I was born with, like, this is a pre-existing condition thing.
Yeah.
I was born with this. Like, there was nothing that, I mean, I don't know of any infertility that's going to not be, but we have a pre-diagnosis of something else that causes this even. And still not. It just, and then to get the cost, it's so disheartening.
Yeah. Even so, I had asked to, because I saw the price for, to buy donor eggs, and I was like, wow, that's as much as like a new car. So
yeah.
I was like, well, I was curious if there was any like payment plans or anything. And she was like, no, there is no payment plans. And so it was just a lot for me, because I'm like, something that's already kind of hard to go through, that just makes it even harder.
Yes.
To know, like, kind of just throw me a bone here, like, please.
It's a little bit of an insult to injury. Like,
yeah,
it's already really emotionally hard.
Yeah.
Have to hit
And
me hard financially too.
right. And she was like, well, we work with this, she mentioned it was just some loan company. And so it was just crazy to me. So
The one aspect of trying to finance things like that, and this could apply to anything you do, that I've only kind of minimally thought about and processed myself, but like I know I have in my life a lot of people that would probably love to donate to some kind of fund for whatever,
mhm.
be it IVF treatments, embryo adoption, traditional adoption, like any of those types of options. But I always felt like I had an initial reaction of, would that be weird to like ask for or open it up for people to help us pay for that? But there's
Yeah,
adoption funds.
right. And again, it's like not even Turner's girls who have to go through,
Yeah,
possibly using a donor egg. So I think, yeah, bringing that awareness would be great too. Because it's just kind of, I'm sure you kind of felt the same way, Brooke, but it's like whenever I got that information, I just sat there and I was like, they're just kind of like, here you go, have fun, trying to figure it out and just kind of dealing with it. And I'm like,
yeah. Before that doctor's appointment and we had everything confirmed, my husband had always said, since we were dating, there's always adoption. Adoption is great. And I was like, yeah, but I just like you, I've always wanted those experiences of being pregnant and labor and delivery. I know there may be some women that are like, oh gosh, it's not all it's cracked up to be. And I'm like, well, but I would still love the experiences.
yeah.
And when they told me the cost, because the cost was several tens of thousands of dollars,
Hmm.
I was like, well, adoption's great.
Yeah, yeah,
That's
for
just
sure.
so overwhelming.
Yeah. I mean, even to me, I was like, well, I'm just, just take it a day at a time because this just kind of puts me off of it for right now. I'm like, and also me and my husband just got married like a year ago.
Hmm.
So, there is time for everything. And um, I feel like God put that in our hearts right now just to kind of like take it a day at a time,
Yeah,
because everything has its season. And, I have faith in like, however it's going to work out, it's going to work out. And whenever the time comes, it will be taken care of and dealt with.
absolutely. And there is no shame in having a different journey than another person you're talking to. Um, I think in the Turner syndrome community, there can be a little bit of a, I don't want to talk about being pregnant and hurt everybody else, but
Mm-hmm.
but everybody's going to have a different journey. I someday would, God willing, if that's what he has planned for us, still love to go through a pregnancy, whether it's IVF with egg donation, which would be my preferred, or something like embryo adoption. And
Mm-hmm.
that's a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
There can be this pressure to, well, adoption is enough. Yes, absolutely it is. And all those options are great options. And you just have to find what is best and what is your best option. And
Mm-hmm.
that's going to look different for everybody. There was somebody
Yeah.
I talked to that was able to naturally get pregnant and have 3 children. And
With Turner's.
mhm. And that is something that they were a little bit wary of sharing because there was a little bit of a, like, I don't want to, upsetting people or anything like that, but everybody has different journeys.
Yeah, definitely. And I think, us as Turner, I mean, I feel, I think that's great that she was, trying to be mindful of other people's feelings, but that's what the group is there for, is just to be able to like have that community and talk to each other
Yeah.
about, anything and everything really. So
Yeah. And being able to embrace, because we all have our own very unique ways we're impacted and journeys with everything, being able to embrace that for each other, even if it's not something that can be a part of ours, is really important.
yeah, definitely, because it's there to, unite, not like divide.
Yeah.
Kind of thing.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. There's been just some interesting interactions I've seen, not in the group, but in interactions outside of the group, that it's been interesting to watch.
yeah, for
But,
sure.
so anyways, that was probably a little bit of a tangent, but that just is what was in my head. So before I let you go, was there anything else that we didn't touch on, or that you didn't have a chance to share that you wanted to share?
Not really. I mean, I think, I guess just as like a last thing as I want to say is, just, we just got to, love yourself for who you are. And, for me, it's been helping to just keep a grateful heart for everything. It's important to not get in your head, because it's easy to get upset about things, but that's not a way to live, and I'm starting to, think of Turner syndrome as like, hey, this is part of me and that's okay, but I, I think we both can prove, like you can, it doesn't make you any more or less than normal.
Yeah.
We can all live normal lives, a lot of us have jobs. It's not anything that I think really needs to be looked at as a disadvantage. So
Yes. Yeah. And I think how you put that language is really important. It's a part of you. It is not all that you are.
right.
And keeping that in mind through everything it can throw at you just can make a world of difference.
Yeah. Because I mean, I remember watching this video about these older ladies that had Turner syndrome, and then basically the doctors, and back whenever there was like basically nothing known about it, and the doctors were just saying, just like, abort your child, and it's like, no, that's not, everybody is valuable. And so it made me cry to think, that they just said to do that.
Yeah. I think awareness is something that I feel like, hopefully what I've tried to do to raise awareness has helped give perspective to that, and helped that situation a little bit, where you're not jumping to conclusions about what that's going to mean or what you immediately need to do, and stop you from getting those further answers to really know what's going on.
Yeah.
And so that's why I feel like everybody's story is important, because that gives context to when a doctor says, this is what's likely, these are the risks, and this is what we feel like their likelihood is, that you might not have context for otherwise.
Yeah. Well, I just appreciate you, Brooke, and you doing the podcast. I love it, and everything you're doing to raise awareness.
Thank you. And thank you so much for coming on and talking with me. It was awesome to get to chat and hear everything going on with you. I am praying for you, and good luck through everything with IVF. And your thyroid stuff. I hope that goes well.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I'm not too worried about it. So, but thank you, Brooke. Yeah, best of luck to you as well.
Yeah,
So
thank you. Okay, well, have a good rest of your day.
you too. Bye.
Bye.